This video came across my feed yesterday. I saw the beginning of it and I was like, oh, yeah, these are the situations people are in. And then I kept watching it and it just kept getting worse.
I mean, I was sitting out in my office and I feel like my chest caved in. I was just like, oh my God, this is insane.
Her family's monthly premium up $2,000 overnight.
I was expecting my costs to maybe double, maybe go up to 500, maybe at the most 600, but to see it over 1,000 was beyond shocking.
I'm actually really anxious about what it looks like to not have my mental health medication because I can't afford the $600 a month. That's half my rent.
I got long COVID. It's going to be about 40% of my income come January 1st. I don't know what I'm going to do if this doesn't get fixed.
In my state of Vermont, we're hearing that people are looking at a tripling or a quadrupling of the health insurance premiums.
I have a rare type of adult asthma called eosinophilic asthma.
Her insurance premium will increase by nearly 1,000%.
Such a jarring, sudden change with only maximum 2 months warning. It's hard to imagine.
We currently pay $282 and some change. I just logged on this past week and I was finally able to see what the premiums are going to go up to. And if we keep the same plan, it'll go up to $1,003 a month for just health insurance.
So $4,170 a month, what would that be for you for a whole year? So $50,000 a year. Can you afford that?
No.
It just comes at the cost of my financial future in a way.
We will subsidize it out of our savings account until we can sell the house.
This is unspeakable.
This issue of the expiring enhanced tax credits needs to be solved like yesterday.
I don't want you guys to forget. This is all happening and everyone else is being blamed, and that program in the third, and we know Republicans are targeting the ACA, but they don't want to talk about it very much. Those are the real life stories of people that they're writing off as just saying, maybe fraud, waste, and abuse. Maybe you should get a job, or that's not really happening to you is one of the main things that they keep saying. So even though it's happening to them, what's the next step you can take when the people that you're supposed to be telling to represent you give you a couple of middle fingers? Hey, here's this liar. Here he is doing his normal talking points in response to their lives.
First of all, the Unaffordable Care Act has failed the American people. It did exactly the opposite of what they all promised as it would do. The Democrats broke the American health care system. The reason your premiums are skyrocketing is because they have terrible policies, and one of them is subsidizing insurance companies. That's what this COVID-era subsidy was all about. Remember, the Democrat Party created this on their own. They're the ones that put the expiration date on it, December 31 of this year, because they knew it was a boondoggle. There was no way they could justify that being permanent policy. So what we have said is if there was going to be an extension of that, it would need massive reforms. You need some income caps on that. You should not be subsidizing health care for wealthy people. And also, you need all sorts of reforms on it. You need high protections on those things and other innovations. So the Republican Party has known this is going to expire at the end of the year, as everyone in Congress has. We were always preparing to work through that in a deliberative fashion through October, November, December. But ironically, the Democrats, because of their shenanigans, took a lot of the time off the clock on that for us to do it. So we're working on it in earnest. It is the Republican Party that will bring down healthcare costs, not the Democrats.
Do you guys remember what the healthcare was like before the ACA came along? And when the ACA was being debated, how much Republicans, their stance was nothing. But Mike Johnson, that's why their answer was nothing. It's also why many of these Republican states sabotaged the exchanges for Medicare access through the ACA for their states so that people could suffer. Let's not forget how they went about it. They were a part of giving input into how the ACA was going to come together so that they could sabotage it, make it look bad, at least as bad as it could possibly be. It definitely wasn't what the full argument from people like Bernie Sanders was, which was universal health care for folks. So all this talk about what Mike Johnson wants to change, we shouldn't be subsidizing rich people's health care. Rich people should be paying their taxes, just like middle-class people should be paying their taxes. And then after those taxes get paid, your contributions to this country based off of the amount of money that you've made, those things would go into our system. And yes, rich people could have access to our healthcare system as well. Why not? They're paying for it. Instead, we make a bunch of loopholes that are available for people like Donald Trump to not pay their taxes. And then when they don't, they say, how come all these poor people are dealing with all these issues? So as you heard, the purpose is to bash the ACA, which, again, you can do that. There's lots of issues with it. Afterwards, what is your plan? Let's see if this guy has one.
Subsidizing the insurance companies is not the answer because it just drives the cost up even further. So we need to look at the root causes. The Republican Party is the party that is working on that, has been working on it, and has more ideas going forward. We got to bring down the costs. And you can do that in a responsible way that also increases access and quality of care. And we got notebooks full of ideas on how to do that. We got to build consensus around it.
Notebooks of ideas. All he's got is notebooks of ideas full of stuff on him, and it's teeming. Like, our notebooks are overflowing. We can't figure out how to organize all these plans. For that whole month, over a month that they had off, it's weird how he wasn't telling his people to come up with some ideas and some plans, maybe put something down on paper, maybe give them something they could answer for after their demands are met about how they want Democrats, which they did, to fold to them and give them all their power back to continue screwing people over.
Obviously, we're not going to be on a conference call explaining all of our plans and strategies for healthcare reform because they're leaked in real time. Literally, when I have a conference call with all my members, it's tweeted out by journalists. They're supposed to be private, but they're not. And so Marjorie knows that. She knows she can come into my office any day at any hour, and I'll lay out everything for her. The committees of jurisdiction, the people who specialize in all of this, have been working on this around the clock for a long time. In fact, we published 60 or 70 pages of healthcare reform ideas in 2019 when I was the chair of the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus in Congress. Our ideas have been out there for a long time. We're formulating the final plan that will bring down premiums.
Here's this guy, Representative Pat Harrigan. He got the talking point as well to talk about the ACA. And I guess they need to develop some talking point better than fraud, waste, and abuse as their answer. I want you to listen to the question that's asked of him and then see if you can find the answer to that question.
House Republicans signed a letter to Speaker Mike Johnson, and I want to read part of it and get your take on it. They said this, that after the shutdown, quote, we should immediately turn our focus to the growing crisis of healthcare affordability and the looming expiration of the Enhanced Affordable Care Act premium tax credits. Millions of Americans are facing drastic premium increases due to short-sighted Democratic policymaking. While we did not create this crisis, we have now both the responsibility and the opportunity to address it. What is the Republican plan then to address healthcare costs in this country?
Well, I agree with part of that statement from a group of centrist Republicans that are concerned about the cost of healthcare overall, but I disagree with them that the solution is some sort of extension to these Affordable Care Act subsidies that were really for the emergency COVID period and for the emergency COVID period only. We understand we've got to come to the conclusion, right, just on its surface, that if we are demanding these emergency subsidies become permanent for the Affordable Care Act to actually be affordable, then it goes without much difficulty in understanding that the Affordable Care Act is actually not affordable. And that's what we have to all recognize. And look, this is something that I think Republicans have failed with in the past, is we've not provided a good or reasonable alternative. But we certainly have never supported the Affordable Care Act because what's in it and the things that underpin it, that prop it up, like these temporary subsidies, seem to always have to become permanent, and become permanent in such a terrible way where we're not giving this money to the American people. We're giving this money to large insurance companies. Look, there's no question that healthcare is unaffordable. We have got to take this next year and work together to make healthcare affordable. I think that means a fairly radical departure from the Affordable Care Act. We've got a year to figure this out, or Republicans will be held accountable for it in the 2026 elections. I think there's no question about that.
Checkpoint. Talk about the ACA, then talk about the ACA. Then after you talk about the ACA, then say the Republicans have always been against the ACA. What you didn't hear there from the question was, when is this plan coming from Republicans about what is it they want to do? We got it. We got it. You guys hate the ACA after you made sure that it was already from like not that effective to really not that effective. So since that's what you've got, what is your answer? His only answer went right back to, yeah, I mean, I do agree. We haven't had much to say. You're one of those folks that hasn't had much to say. Why haven't you said anything yet? Where's your answer, bro? All they've got is the ACA sucks. We got it. So the reason I played those folks in their situations, their healthcare skyrocketing at the beginning of this whole thing, is so that every time you hear these guys dance around the answer of what is it that they want to do, refer back to those folks who said, next month, I don't know where I'm going to get my prescriptions from. I don't know what I'm going to do about my mental health prescriptions. I don't know what my kid is going to do. Things are going to skyrocket so much. I've got a rare asthma condition. I can't afford $600 for the medication. Remember all of those people, as Pat Harrigan said, we have a year to figure this out before the midterms come around, and we can lie to you enough as possible to make you think we give a damn.
And I know you don't approve of, and you wouldn't agree and support the extension of the enhanced ACA subsidies, but would you temporarily support them for perhaps a year while everyone in the House hammers this out and maybe provides something more substantial when it comes to fighting healthcare costs in this country? Because it doesn't seem like, as of now, the House is really good at compromising.
No, I won't support them because they don't solve the problem in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this is what we've got to understand, is that even for those who are getting subsidies, the expiration of these emergency subsidies only affects 5% of those people that are getting subsidies. This in no way, shape, or form impacts the 75% of Americans that actually can't afford healthcare. And so I'm not in the business up here. My constituents do not want me to put Band-Aids on significant bleeding wounds and say that our job here as politicians is done. That's not the type of performative politics that I was elected to perform up here. I was actually elected to actually make demonstrable change and increase positive outcomes for my constituents. And that's what I intend to do. I'm by no means a healthcare expert, but I do know the free market solves a lot of the problems that we have. And when we can increase competition and we can increase consumer choice.
What happens? How do you do that? And what makes these insurance companies that you say have a free market that pays so many politicians to do their bidding? What makes you think that they're suddenly going to just do the right thing? It's always been the Republican approach when it comes to huge businesses, but they're acting like they don't support the huge healthcare insurance industry. They're acting like they're not paid by them. They're acting like they're somehow against it. But when that United Healthcare CEO got shot in New York, I believe, and the whole Luigi Mangione situation went crazy, I remember a whole bunch of politicians, left and right, were appalled by how an American could do something like this. How can this happen? We've really gone off the rails. I can't understand why people would go after a healthcare CEO. But now, look how they're talking about the healthcare industry as if they're against it. But when someone took matters in their own hands after they got screwed around by that same healthcare industry, they were like, what's the world coming to? These are our brightest and our best. You see how the pretzel keeps twisting and we're not supposed to understand what is it they're doing to us? I'm sorry. I've got one more clip from this liar here.
So when would this ban? I know you don't want a Band-Aid. So when would the permanent fix be in place? Because people are seeing what their premiums would be next year and are saying, oh my God, I can't afford this. I'm going to have to make some tough choices here when it comes to my health care. I mean, what do you say to those people, and what's the fix for 2026?
Well, you've got to educate them that it's not a binary choice. It's not, if we don't get these enhanced subsidies re-upped for another year, my healthcare is going to go up. No, your healthcare is going to go up. I mean, that's what people, I think, fundamentally don't understand. This is not, these subsidies are not actually a stopgap to prevent healthcare costs from increasing sharply this year. Healthcare costs are increasing sharply because the Affordable Care Act is failing, and it's failing in real time. And so, look, again, just to be as completely clear and honest with you as I possibly can, I don't take the House healthcare system because it's actually too expensive. It doesn't make any sense for me and my family. And we actually use an Affordable Care Act carve out that is called a health sharing ministry to provide for my family's healthcare because it's a reasonable and actually affordable, and it really does work.
Again, the question was, when are you going to finally come up with this permanent solution since the ACA sucks? He never once answered the question. Never. He never did. I get damn near 2 minutes every time this guy spoke. He never answered the question because they don't have an answer. Not because they can't come up with one, because they don't want to come up with one. Because that same big bad healthcare industry that's paying them to do nothing continues to pay them to do nothing about it. Except now they have to get a little bit more creative with how they say they're against what it is that they're perpetuating. So let me finish up with this. Let me just wrap up with this. I want to remind you guys of how long it's been and how many times the leader of their party, their king, has talked about replacing the ACA.
No choice but to absolutely replace Obamacare, and we're going to come up with a much better plan. We're going to come up with a great health plan, and this is a great plan. Wait till you see the plans we have coming out literally over the next 4 weeks. We have a plan coming out, an additional plan coming out in a very short period of time. We're going to have fantastic health care, and the plan is coming out over the next 4 weeks. We're signing a health care plan within 2 weeks.
9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. You already have the concept of a plan, and it'll be much better health care with the plan. Yeah, we'll be announcing that in about 2 months.